In this video, I share 5 of my painting tips to up your painting game. Coming up after this. How's it going on, guys and girls? Welcome back to Bent Acrylic Painting. My name is Graham and welcome to the channel. In this video, I'm going to share 5 of my painting tips to help you level up with your painting. All of these tips that I have either done or implement myself in my daily painting. So I can firmly say that all of them have impacted my painting in a positive way. And I want to share them with you because I believe they are some of the key things that has helped me improve my painting rapidly. So let's get on with the most obvious one that everyone's heard of, is thin your paints. I'm pretty sure that everyone who knows what mini painting is heard of this one or seen the memes of Duncan Rhodes, is too thin coats. Always thin your paints. And the reason you want to thin your paints is because you want to achieve a smooth coat. And the easiest way to do this is to build up layers. So you thin your paints with a little bit of water or a little bit of thinner, and all you're doing is building up that opacity. By using thinner paints, you get a stronger, flatter, and smoother, stronger and smoother finish to your miniatures. And on the subject of thinning your paints, my second tip is get a wet palette. Now, you don't have to buy a Redgrass gaming one or anything like that. In fact, mine is just made out of just a Citadel grass containers with a bit of sponge and some baking sheet on it just to keep my paints wet. Now, why would a wet palette help to progress your painting? What I found from going from a dry palette to a wet palette is that my paints, 1, they last longer, 2, they help me to control the paints on my brush, 3, you can mix straight on the wet palette and you're not going to waste that color because it's staying wet. And I think the most recent benefit for me by using a wet palette is helping me with my glazing, because I can thin my paints right down to that really thin glaze consistency and still have it there wet and ready to go. Wet and ready? Oof. I'm not saying that like a dry palette is useless. They do have their uses, but I just find that my day-to-day painting, a wet palette has really helped me to up my painting game. Now, number 3 is get yourself an airbrush. Whoa. Don't click off just yet. I know what you're thinking. They're so expensive. I don't have the money. It's a steep learning curve. No, it's not true, and I'll tell you why. My airbrush is just a 15-20 quid cheap airbrush. It's just a non-branded thing. It's plastic. The spread is pretty wide. It's not very accurate at times. It's just a cheap airbrush. It actually came with my compressor, so technically I got it for free. And my compressor is just a cheap 80 quid one as well. And you might think, Graham, 80 quid I still can't afford. Don't worry, you can get like little compressors that just sit on your hobby table. They're about yay big, that just continuously cycle, and you could pick those up for around £30. So if you get one of those and you get a 15 quid cheap airbrush like mine, you're looking at around 45-50 quid. So airbrushing doesn't have to be an expensive part of the hobby. Now, if you're watching this video, chances are you've seen my Death Guard and you've seen the transitions that I do with my Death Guard's green armor. That is all with the airbrush, and all it is a simple technique using several different paints building up that transition from dark to light. Simple as that. And trying to achieve those blends and transitions with a brush, 1 would take absolutely forever, and 2 would be near on impossible to get those transitions with a brush at my skill level. I actually have a couple of videos where I show this, one specifically on Death Guard armor, which on my Rhino, go check it out, and my other one with a collaboration with Underdog Painting. You'll see just how easy it is, and I get all of those vivid transitions on the green armor with that cheap airbrush. In fact, I can actually show you now with Mortarion. All those shades and highlights of the green armor is all airbrushing, and with just a cheap airbrush you can get really good effects, but more about him on a later video. My painting quality skyrocketed after I got an airbrush, and you might be thinking, Graham, there's such a steep learning curve on how to use it. It's really not. After a couple of YouTube videos and about a day of just playing around with PSIs and how it works, I'd pretty much got it down. So using the airbrush for basic things like the armor on my Death Guard is so simple. With a few simple techniques and some practice, you can get similar results as well. So number 3, get yourself an airbrush. On to number 4. and that is autopilot is your enemy. If you ask me, this is one of the hardest ones on the list just because it's our hobby. This is what we do when we want to wind down and relax, and you don't really want to hyper focus on something after a hard day at work or after you've put the kids down and it's your time. This is time to chill, it's time to relax. But if you do want to improve your painting, it is worth it. If you want to get better at painting, try to stay focused on what you're doing. Why am I putting my brushstroke there? If you can't come up with a reason why that betters your painting, then don't do the stroke, my dude. This will help you think objectively of where you're putting your paint. Take a break. Took a Kit Kat. This is a great tip for anything you're doing, be that painting, be that housework, anything that you're focusing on, and also will help you to refocus when you're struggling to get in the zone. It's actually proven that you only need about 5 minutes to refocus and get back in the zone. So every half hour or so, or if you're struggling, take a 5-minute break. Go check out a YouTube video, get yourself a coffee, chat to a mate. You can do this every half hour and your productivity will stay at a high, consistent level. And if you keep doing this over and over again throughout the day, you can paint for longer and get more done. Am I a master of this? No, I'm always battling with autopilot, but that battle is something that I need to do to progress my painting to the next level. And finally, tip number 5, practice. Paint every day. Everyone's heard of the saying, practice makes perfect, or you got to put in 10,000 hours to become a master at something. And there's a reason for that. Repeating something over and over and over again, you're bound to get better at it. So if you want to learn how to glaze, but you're worried about you being rubbish at it, don't worry, we all started somewhere. The fact that you're giving it a go means that you've done the hard bit already. You just got to keep doing it over and over and over again. And then 6 months down the line, you look back at what you've just painted compared to what you painted the first time you tried that technique on. It's going to be a huge difference, I guarantee you. One thing that I struggle with, but I can definitely recommend, is try to paint every day. If you're always painting, you're always going to get better. And it sounds obvious, but if you're not painting, you're not going to get better. And you're always going to be at that same level. Even if it's just for 15-20 minutes before you go to work or before you go to bed, pick up that paintbrush and see what happens. And of course, with any good list video, you've got to have a couple of bonuses. My first bonus tip links in strongly with practice, and that is do not rush yourself. Everyone learns at a different pace. Some people learn quicker, some people learn slower. So you might have someone who's really good at, say, non-metallic metals. They got the technique down really easily, but it's taken you months and months and you're still not getting it. But that person might struggle at edge highlighting and you might be really good at it. Everyone has their strengths and weaknesses. Just go at your own pace. And my second bonus tip is to keep a notebook. This one's mine. And keeping a notebook for your painting is a great idea because you might paint something in a certain way that you don't want to forget. Jot it down. You might have a different paint recipe and it works even better than the one you've used for years. Jot it down. That way, when you come back to do it again, you know exactly what you did and what paints you used. Get yourself a notebook. Keep it on your hobby desk. Trust me, there'll be a time when you go, I did that one thing a certain way and I want to redo it. How did I do it? If you've written it down in your notebook, you can do it again. So that is it from me at Burn Aquila Painting. So what did you think of my 5 ways to improve your painting? Let me know in the comments, and do you want to see more of this type of video? Also, which ones do you do or know already, and which ones were new for you? Let's have a chat in the comments. As always, like and subscribe for more painting videos from me at Burn Aquila Painting. If you want to get involved, I do have a Patreon. You've heard all the spiel from other channels before, I'm sure, but there's 2 tiers. Go check them out. That helps me produce more content and more videos for you guys. And as always, see you in the next one. Peace!